Bunch of the boys were whooping it up at the Malamute Saloon. The kid that handles the music box put on a ragtime tune. Back at the bar in a solo game sat dangerous Dan McGrew. Watching his luck was his light o' love, the lady that's known as Lou. When out of the night, which was 50 below, and into the din and glare, there stumbled a miner straight from the creek, dog dirty and loaded for bear. He seemed like a man with one foot in the grave, and scarcely the strength of a louse. But he tilted a poke of dust on a bar, and called for drinks for the house. None could place the stranger's face, though we searched ourselves for clue, but we drank his health, and the last to drink was dangerous Dan McGrew. There's men that somehow grip your eyes, and hold them hard like a spell, and such was he looked to me like a man who'd lived in hell, with a face most hair and a dreary stare of a dog whose day is done, as he watered the green stuff in his glass, and the drops fell one by one. Then I got to figuring who he was and wondering what he'd do. Then I turned my head, and there watching him was the lady that's known as Lou. His eyes were rovering round the room as if in some kind of daze, till at last that old piano fell in the way of his wandering gaze. The ragtime kid was having a drink, there was no one on the stool. The stranger stumbled across the room and flops down there like a fool. In a buckskin shirt that was glazed in dirt, he sat, and I saw him sway. Then he clutched the keys with his taloned hands. My God, but that man could play. Were you ever out in the great alone, when the moon was an awful clear, and the icy mountain hemmed you in a silence that only you could hear, with only the howl of the timber wolf, and you camped out in the cold, a half-dead thing in a stark dead world, clean mad for the muck called gold? Well, high overhead, green, yellow, and red, the northern lights swept in bars. Then you've a hunch what the music meant. Hunger, the night, the stars. And hunger not of the belly kind that's banished with bacon or beans, but a gnawing hunger of a lonely man for home and all that it means. For a fireside far from the cares that are, four walls and a roof above, but oh, so crammed full of cozy joy, and crowned with a woman's love, a woman dearer than all the world. True as heaven is true, God, how ghastly she looks, through her rouge, the lady that's known as Lou. Then all of a sudden the music changed, so soft that you scarce could hear, but you felt your life being looted clean of all that it once held dear. Someone had stolen the woman you'd loved, and her love was a devil's lie, that your guts were gone and the best for you was to crawl away and die. 'Twas the crowning cry of a heart's despair, and it thrilled you through and through. I guess I'll make a spread, mizire, said dangerous Dan McGrew. Then the music almost died away, and then burst like a pent-up flood. It seemed to say, repay, repay, and my eyes were blind with blood. The thought came back of an ancient wrong, and it stung like a frozen lash, and the lust awoke to kill, and the music stopped with a crash. And the stranger turned, and his eyes they burned in a most peculiar way. In a buckskin shirt that was glazed in dirt, he sat, and I saw him sway. His lips went in a kind of grin, and he spoke, and his words were calm. And boys, says he, you don't know me, and none of you give a damn. But what I want to say, and my words are straight, and I'll bet my poke they're true, that one of you is a hound of hell, and that one is Dan McGrew. Then I ducked my head, and the lights went out, and two guns blazed in the dark, and a woman screamed, and the lights went up, and two men lay stiff and stark. Pitched on his head and pumped full of lead was dangerous Dan McGrew, while the man from the creek clutched to the breast of the lady that's known as Lou. These are the simple facts of the case. I guess I ought to know. They say the stranger was crazed with hooch, and I'm not denying it's so. I'm not as wise as them lawyer guys, but strictly between us two, the woman that kissed him and pinched his poke was the lady that's known as Lou. That's for you, Andrew.